Welcome to Vitrium's how-to video series. In this video, we're going to take a look at social DRM policies. What is a social DRM? It's actually a content setting that allows end users access without authentication, but still allows you to have control over some features. You'll get things such as analytics tracking in the activity logs. Watermarks can be applied. You'll have control over printability or copy and paste, and you can assign date range or location-based access. To create a social DRM, you're going to want to go to the content settings of your admin and click the Add Settings button at the top. For the purposes of this video, we're going to do a document content setting. We'll see here that the same dialog box appears for the regular content setting. However, in the Protected As field, there is an option to drop down and choose Social DRM. Selecting this will mean that any user that has the web link or a copy of the protected document is going to be able to access it without authentication. We recommend utilizing the best practice of using descriptive language when naming it, such as social DRM, no print, no copy, as you can see here that you can either allow or disallow the copy and paste or printing options. You'll also be able to choose if you want the social DRM content to show in your user portal if the user portal is active for your account. You'll be able to select up to 2 watermarks as well. Here we can select our first one called the Social DRM watermark, and you can choose to also create a new one by clicking this blue plus icon here. Though social DRMs do not track individual user accounts, you are able to leverage some user-specific data. By selecting the social for user-specific here, we can see that we get the drop-down menu to insert some variables. For example, if we wanted to include the date that the content was accessed on and the IP address it was accessed from, we can select our variables from the menu on the right-hand side here. Let's insert date for accessed on, clicking down onto this new line for IP address, and we can add that here. The placement by default is going to be at the bottom center, but we can change that to any of the options that you see here. For this example, let's take a look at the vertical right and we'll leave it on the left-hand side. We will name it something specific here and we'll pop over to the advanced option to confirm the color, font, and size. Let's change this to a dark gray and we'll leave the font size and the opacity as it is. Once you're finished creating your watermark, you can click Save and Exit. We can see here now that we've got the 2 listed watermarks for this particular setting. Next, we'll want to take a look at the advanced options. Here you're going to see some features that you may already be familiar with from a DRM policy, alongside advanced options that are available to our enterprise customers or professional customers who have upgraded their subscription. The Advanced Options tab allows you to determine what level of screen capture prevention you would like to have. Features such as the IP address and location restrictions and permit, which are typically features available for our enterprise customers or pro customers who have upgraded their subscription, are available to all accounts with Social DRM. You can set a static start and expiry date in the start and expiry date fields. You can choose to have a more dynamic expiry date by utilizing the expiry after first unlock. You can also choose to allow offline access. The IP address and the location restrictions or permits are features that you can leverage if you want to limit IP addresses or geographic locations for access. You can choose to include an IP address limit by selecting this radio button here and entering a value of 0 to show the allowed or restricted IP address fields. You can then enter IP addresses into either field here, and that will either limit or restrict access to or from those specific IP addresses. For example, if I only wanted my IP address to be able to access social DRM content, I could enter my IP address in this field here. Any other IP addresses would be blocked from accessing, even though it is a social DRM. If you instead have content that you would like to have accessible only from certain geographic locations, you can enter those locations in the Location Permits field here. For Canada or the United States, it will be broken down by province, territory, or state. However, other countries would be at the country level. So for example, if I wanted to allow access to those in Peru, I would simply list that country there. You can list as many as you would like. Any other locations that are not listed in the location permits would be restricted or barred from accessing the social DRM content. Since we included the IP address in our watermarks, let's use an example of allowed IP addresses listing mine. When you've finished entering your parameters for your social DRM, be sure to click Save and Exit. Next, we're going to want to take a look at content that has this social DRM setting applied to it. If we click on the Vitrium use case spotlight, we can see here our content setting has been selected as the social DRM, no print, no copy that we created previously. You'll notice that this content looks slightly different than others and is missing an icon in the permissions and users columns. However, our web link and secure PDF options do still appear. With the document open, we can see that it did not prompt us for authentication, and we can clearly see the watermarks that we chose to apply in this content setting. We can see the date that the content was accessed on, along with the IP address of the user who has accessed it. If we hop over to the user activity log, we'll be able to see what the analytics look like for a social DRM. Instead of a unique username such as an email address, we will see social DRM followed by the information of the tracking ID. From there, we can also see what IP addresses, what apps, and where the users are accessing this content from. We can see that we have access from Canada, the UK, and as well as Peru in this list here. Further to that, we can see the different methods that they've accessed this file from. So we can see the web social option here, which is viewing the document in the secure web viewer. We can see that it's been downloaded, saved offline, people have tried to print it, and more. This gives you some key insights into how your users are interacting with your content, even if you're not tracking them by specific users. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out our other how-to videos and our knowledge base online.